Hello, I'm going to solve a question on more concept. More concept. The question reads as follows. The student needs 15 cubic centimeters of sulfuric acid to neutralize 25 cubic centimeters of the potassium hydroxide solution. This reaction is shown here, where potassium hydroxide reacts with sulfuric acid to produce potassium sulfate and water. Calculate the amount in moles of potassium hydroxide in 25 cubic centimeters of potassium hydroxide solution of concentration. So here you have been given for potassium hydroxide, you have been given the volume, which is 25 cubic centimeters. And you have also been given the concentration of potassium hydroxide, which is 0.24 moles per cubic decimeter. And so we are going to solve this question starting from here. So the first thing is that you have to write a balanced equation for this reaction, which is potassium hydroxide reacting with the acid, which is sulfuric acid. We produce potassium sulfate plus water. If you balance this equation, it gives you actually 2 there, and then beside you have also 2 water. So balance equation. So you have to look at the mole ratio on the balance equation. So here you have 2 moles of potassium hydroxide. You have 1 mole of sulfuric acid for 1 mole of potassium sulfate, and you have 2 moles of water. And this is on the balanced equation. And so the equation is asking us, see, they have given, you know, the concentration of potassium hydroxide should be equal to the moles of potassium hydroxide divided by the volume of potassium hydroxide. You will know that here we are given, as I indicated earlier on, you are given that the concentration for potassium sulfate is 0.24 moles per cubic decimeter. And the volume potassium hydroxide is actually 25 over 1,000 decimeters. We have changed cubic centimeters to decimeters divided by 1,000. Therefore, from this equation, we can say the number of moles of potassium hydroxide will be equal to the concentration of potassium hydroxide multiplied by the volume of potassium hydroxide. And this you know already. This is 0.24 moles per cubic decimeter multiplied by the volume is actually 25 over 1,000 cubic decimeters. And this gives you actually 0.006 moles of potassium hydroxide. So the first part of the question has been answered. We go to the second part of the question, calculate the amount in moles of sulfuric acid in 15 cubic centimeters of sulfuric acid. Similarly, you can as well write the same balanced equation. Potassium hydroxide plus sulfuric acid. You get potassium sulfate plus water. Balanced equation. Note that this equation now is balanced, so it is so 1 more potassium hydroxide, 1 more of sulfuric acid, 1 more of potassium sulfate, and you have 2 moles of water. So here you have to look at the mole ratio. Mole ratio between those of the mole ratio of this and the sulfuric acid. On the balanced equation, the mole ratio on the balanced equation, this one has 2 moles. Actually, this is 2 moles. Okay, so this has 2 moles. 2 moles, as we indicated, and then this one is actually 1 mole. And therefore, we calculated the moles because this moles be 0.006 moles. And this one will give us X. And the X, therefore, you can multiply by 2. If you multiply this 2x, it gives you 1 multiplied by 0.006 moles. And therefore, X can be 1.006 divided by 2, which gives us 0.003 moles. So moles, therefore, moles of sulfuric acid is actually 0.003 moles. Okay, meaning that we have answered the second part of the equation where they wanted us to calculate the amount of moles in sulfuric acid. So the last part, so the number of the amount of moles, that's the last part, is calculate the concentration of sulfuric acid. Number 3. So the concentration of sulfuric acid actually you get it, you're aware that concentration of sulfuric acid should be equal to moles of sulfuric acid divided by the volume of sulfuric acid. And therefore, we have just calculated that the moles is actually 0.003 moles of sulfuric acid divided by the volume. The volume is actually 15. As you can see from here, this is the volume that we are given. And therefore, we're going to divide by 15 over 1,000 cubic decimeter. Okay, this is the same as actually 0.015. Okay, cubic decimeters. So what you get is actually 0.2 moles per cubic decimal. This is the concentration of sulfuric acid. So we have every attended to this question. And so if you want more questions to be answered in a manner that you can easily understand more concept, you can actually contact me through this number on WhatsApp, which is +260 977 499 49, as well as through the email, gmail.com. We can actually give you feedback as well as solve past questions. Okay, thank you very much.